these precepts. Let's go back and let's go to the book of let's go back to Esther chapter 12 and verse 6.
The book of Esther, the rest of Esther, chapter 12, verse 6. Howbeit, Haman, the son of Amadiah, the Agagite, who was in great honor with the king, sought to molest Mordecai and his people because of the two eunuchs of the king.
Now jump over to chapter 16 and verse 10. This is a home in the point.
The rest of Esther, chapter 16, verse 10. But Haman, a Macedonian.
A what?
A Macedonian.
For Haman, a Macedonian, read on.
The son of Amadiah, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood. And far distant from our goodness.
And far distance from our goodness, read on up.
And as a stranger received of us.
So it's letting us know that what? Haman, Macedonian of Agag. So we knowing that what? The Macedonians go back to the lineage of who? Of Esau. We know who was a Macedonian. Let's go to the book of what? First Maccabees. That's right. So this is how you literally trace this thing all the way back. So to show without a shadow of a doubt that guess what? The Edomites go back to Alexander the Greek. We know for a fact that Alexander was a so-called white man because like we say, they show he was not no damn Israelite.
Real.
And brothers that's out there pushing this, man, they don't understand the scriptures. It's literally going precept upon precept to show that. You have to forgive brothers. It be doctrines out there that'll steer brothers and sisters away from the truth. You got brothers out there in camps teaching that Alexander the Greek was an Israelite. Man, come on, everybody in the Bible wasn't black, man. And even if they had dark skin, doesn't mean that they are an Israelite. Brothers are got to understand nationalities and geography. Read this,
First book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after the Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian.
The Macedonian, read on up.
Who came out of the land of Chetam, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
So it's showing you that what? Alexander the Greek was a what? Was a Macedonian. His father, Philip, comes from the lineage of Haman, the Agagite, which also was a what? Was a Macedonian. So you need what? 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 5. You need Esther 12 and 6. You need Esther 16 and 10. Esther 3 and 1 to be able to link these precepts up and properly match them together to show the lineage all the way down from Esau. You can literally trace that thing from Edom. Let's see, I'm missing one. First Chronicles 1 and 36. Because like we say, those things will come up, especially with brothers out there on the streets. How do y'all know that the so-called white man is Esau? Well, hey, this is a precept right there. Literally showing you and tracing that thing all the way back, man. And like I said, if they reject that, then they reject the scriptures. You get to read that out.
First Chronicles, chapter 1, verse 30. The sons of Laz and Timnah and Amalek.
So we seeing that, guess what? Out of Esau came Eliphaz. Out of Amalek came Haman, the Agagites. Out of the Agagites came Haman, which Haman comes from the Macedonians, which track this thing down all the way from history. Let's go back to the book of Esther. Say, brothers, make sure y'all have those precepts, because a lot of times we encounter those things. I know when we was dealing with the Yarmulke Jake, he believing that Esau is Japhet. And we literally had just did the class on that, so we literally lined them up with the scriptures. And guess what? He didn't believe it because he's wearing a yarmulke on his head.
All the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed in reverence Haman.
For
For the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not.
But Mordecai did what?
But Mordecai bowed not.
Read on up.
Nor did him reverence.
So Mordecai didn't bow down unto him because he knew his history. He knew his lineage. He knew that, guess what? Out of Edomites come no good thing. He understood the scriptures that we were what? Mortal enemies. So we don't understand, if we know we're mortal enemies and the Most High God made us to be opposites of each other, why in the slavery? Then you see him with 100 years of lynching. Then you see him with the Jim Crow era. Even you seeing now with police brutality. I mean, when is it going to stop? When is our people going to get the hint that they mean us no good? And then it's outlined in the scriptures from the beginning of time. We have to be able to shake that thing, man. That's called Stockholm Syndrome. Read on up.
Verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said thou the king's commandments.
So he's asking, why you transgress the king's commandments? Let's go back to the book of, let's go to Esther and the Apocrypha, chapter 13 and verse 12. And this is a prayer of Mordecai that he prayed.
Esther, the rest of Esther chapter 13, verse 12. Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest, Lord, that it was neither in contempt nor pride, nor for any desire of glory, that I did not bow down to proud Haman.
That he did what?
That I did not bow down to proud Haman.
So he's praying to the Most High God, letting them know that, guess what? He didn't bow down to him because of pride or any desire of glory. Read on up.
For I could have been content with good, while for the salvation of Israel, to kiss the soles of his feet.
So he's letting us know that, guess what? He would have kissed the soles of Haman's feet if it would have brought salvation to the nation of Israel. Read on up.
But I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of man above the glory of God.
Read that again, huh?
But I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of man above the glory of God.
Because even in the truth, we have brothers that do what? Prefer the glory of man over the glory of the Most High God. We ain't supposed to be dealing in that spirit. Especially in Christianity, what do they always say? Well, my pastor said, sister, your pastor gonna get you put to death, man. Brother, your pastor is gonna get you killed, man. They putting the glory over man over the Most High God. Read on up.
Glory of God.
Read on up.
Neither will I worship any but thee.
Read that again, up.
Neither will I worship any but thee.
Because even over some camp leaders, it's not our job to worship the leaders. It's our job to do what? Worship.
Neither will I worship any but thee, O God. Neither will I do it in pride.
Neither will we do this thing in what? In pride. Brothers got to shake that prideful spirit in Israel. Sisters have to shake that pride. Because we tell you, pride, me and Captain Jerbow was talking about this the other night. Pride, brothers dealing in pride, sisters dealing in pride can get you pulled out of the truth.
Yep.
Like I said, you have an opportunity to ask your brothers or sisters for help in making it to the Sabbath class, to handle things that you may need going on. That pride will stop you from putting in the work. That's one of the attributes of Satan he'll use against our people, man, to stop them from doing the work in this truth, man.
And a lot of times people get their pride on them. Guess what? They start leading to their own understanding. That's what pride make you do. Instead of, guess what, seeking counsel. Pride, guess what, man? That's like that song said, pride is the devil, man. That's the devil. And it do comes in on a lot of us. And a lot of us sometimes don't know that we got pride on us until somebody else calls you out on that pride.
Yeah, go ahead. I want the pride. Any brother got the pride precept? Because like we say, Satan is not ignorant of these devices. He'll use anything that he can to do what? Pull brothers and sisters out of the truth. And pride is one of them. Like we said, brother too prideful to ask for help, or sister is too prideful to ask for help, then you go and do some things that you're not supposed to be doing. Then you what? You
verse 12.
Uh-huh.
The beginning of pride is when one doeth. The beginning of pride is when one departed from God.
So when you dealing in pride, that's letting you know that you're what? You're departing from the Most High God. You can see him slowly taking his Holy Spirit away from you when you're dealing in that type of spirit. That's one of them. Hey, that's one of the things brothers and sisters need to do. We see the destructions of their minds, the destructions of their spirits. Then it trickle down to the destruction of their bodies as well. It's all a cause and effect, man. Read on up.
The beginning of pride is when one departed from God, and his heart is turned away from his maker.
And then it turns you away from your maker, meaning what? You stop being diligent in the truth. You stop reading your Bible. You stop retaining. You lose a lot of memory on your precepts. Read on up.
Verse 13. For pride is the beginning of sin.
Read that again.
For pride is the beginning of sin.
It's letting us know when you're dealing in a prideful spirit, that's the beginning of sin. Brothers can't correct you. You don't want to take counsel. All these things goes into pride. Read on.
For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination.
And when you dealing in that type of spirit, you pour out abominations. Like I said, not being diligent in this walk. Read on.
And therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities, and overthrew them utterly.
So dealing in that type of spirit, the Most High God is letting us know that guess what? Strange calamities, not knowing why you can't financially make ends meet. Because the Most High God is doing what? Putting holes in your pocket. Because you're dealing in that prideful spirit. So the thing, no, you got to set a good pattern of, you have to show a good pattern of works in this thing, man. Let's go back to the book of Esther in the Apocrypha.
And now, O Lord God and King, spare thy people.
Do what up?
Spare thy people.
This is the prayer we need to be praying for, man, that he spare us on the coming destruction from coronavirus. Read on up.
For their eyes are upon us to bring us to naught.
All nations are trying to bring us to naught, meaning stopping us from keeping these commandments, and literally chapter 3 and verse 5.
Esther chapter 3 verse 5.
Let's start up at verse 4, Salah.
Esther chapter 3 verse 4. And it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew.
So he knew, he told them that, guess what? Mordecai was a Jew. Read on up.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Because you know, when Esau see that look on us, when we at the jobs wearing our fringes, when we ain't saying, hey, boss, how you doing, boss? You know, anything I can do for you, boss? When they seeing a real Israelite with them fringes, like, nigga, what say, like CW? Whatever, here, man. Shoot, I'm gonna do my work and go home. You know, Salaki on the video. But you already know that look like, hey, I ain't the regular Negro around here. I'm an Israelite, man.
Y'all know who CW is?
Off of Pinky Friday.
Drive-On
Pinky
Friday.
You know, we can't say the words on this thing. I want to.
Go 5. We say, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, for real. We looking at Esau like that, man. We don't give a damn.
Just like that.
We ain't finna bow down unto you, man. For real.
Man, that's the head chief man of the branch in California. He down here. Yeah, whatever.
What it say? Even like Craig said, man, he put his pants on one leg at a time like me, man. Shoot. Read this, and we know this because guess what? Wait, man. Going back to what? Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. Hey, we know we're above them. First Peter's and so forth. Read.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone.
So he was pissed off that guess what? He didn't pay him homage, like many of the Edomites do today. Read on up.
He wanted one-on-one that boy.
But he did. Well, you know, Mordecai probably would have
For real.
hugged him out.
I say he wanted him by himself. Okay.
Read that again up.
Verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had shown him the people of Mordecai.
Hold up. We know he may have thought it in his mind. He didn't want no smoke from Mordecai, man. He didn't want the smoke. Because like it says in the scriptures, man, we stronger than he, man. He would have hugged his butt out, man. Read on.
Mordecai alone, for they had shown him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
So because Mordecai didn't bow down, now you want to kill all the nation of Israel. That's showing you the hate that they have for us. Let's get that in 2 Maccabees chapter. And we got to understand these things too. At all mischief, Esau is the head of that thing, man. You got something? Read it right quick. Second Maccabees chapter 7 and verse 31. When brothers get a chance, y'all want to make sure y'all go through First and Second Maccabees to get this history as well. Going into Antiochus, going into the Greeks. These things are a good read.
2 Maccabees chapter 7 verse 31. And thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews shalt not escape the hands of God.
Read verse 31 again now.
And thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews.
So it's saying, even when you jump up to verse 24 to get the context of who is the thou.
2 Maccabees 7 and 24. Now Antiochus, thinking himself despised, and suspected it to be in reproachful speech, whilst the youngest was yet alive, did not only exhort him by words, but also assured him with oaths that he would make him both a rich and a happy man, if he would turn from the laws of his fathers, and that also he would take him from his friend and
Statutes and commandments. So the context is Antiochus, meaning an Edomite. Jump back down to verse 31.
verse 31. And thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews.
So it's letting us know that guess what? The Edomites are the author of mischief for all the Israelites. The things that we're going through, they always what? At the head of the table. They always put pork hairs on wave brushes. What the hell you want to put pork hair on wave brushes for, man? Now that's wicked as hell. What you want to put it in toothpaste for? You probably got it on fingernail polish or something, man.
That's one reason why I grew my hair out. That pissed me off so bad. I said,
Well, hey, I ain't got that luxury, man.
I said, nah, yeah, man.
Pork hair, man. Like I said, they're basically making contingency plans and set up secret counsel against us continually. Go ahead, up.
Like you say, go to the ego, man. You can't go to a store, man, find a brush that don't have pork hairs on that mug. Unless it's a plastic hairs on that mug. And that's a real thing, unless you buy it online. You can buy a vegan brush online, too. You can buy a vegan brush online.
Yeah, what do you call it? What do they call it? Fake Jew stuff that they do? Kosher brush.
Yeah,
Thanks, Al.
kosher.
Kosher brush. Let's go back to Esther chapter 3 and verse 7. So we know that what? Mordecai is plotting to, guess what? Not just destroy Mordecai, but he's also plotting to do what? Destroy all the nation of Israel. Because the Most High God, it's in them to, guess what? For us to be mortal enemies. So you can't change them. I don't care how many cups of coffee you bring to Becky. She don't care. She think that's your position. You cannot change them, man. That's something.
Cast pure, that is the lot.
So do any brother know what pure means? Purim means. Read it again. Y'all ain't catch it.
In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, it's the 12th year of King Ahasuerus. They cast pure, that is the lot.
That is the what?
The lot.
So what does it mean? The lot. Or the lots. Or like we say, the Feast of Purim means the Feast of Lots. Because we know it was a lot for us and it was a lot for them. Meaning what? Either righteousness or wickedness. Let's get that. Let's go back to Esther in the apartment. That's what the Feast of Purim means. It means the Feast of Lots. Chapter 10 and start at verse 9.
The rest of Esther, chapter 10, verse 9. And my nation is this Israel, which cried to God and was saved. For the Lord had saved his people.
For the Lord did what?
For the Lord had saved his people.
Read on up.
And the Lord had delivered us from all those evils. And God had wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles.
Read on up.
Therefore, had he made two lots.
Therefore, had he did what?
Had he made two lots.
Read on up.
One for the people of God, and another for all the Gentiles.
Read that again up.
Therefore, had he made two lots. One for the people of God, and another for all the Gentiles.
So where do we get everybody's going to walk through the same gate singing Kumbaya? That's why they wanted the Apocrypha out of the Bible so damn bad. Because a lot of scriptures is made clear. Read that again. The rest of Esther chapter 10 and verse 10. Read that again up.
Esther chapter 10, verse 10. Therefore, hath he made two lots. One for the people of God, and another for all the Gentiles.
So like we said, that who?
Among God, before God among all nations.
Read on up.
So God remembered his people.
At the end of the day, brothers and sisters, that's keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, he's going to remember you. It's stipulations for being God's chosen people. It's not enough that, guess what, you're just God's chosen people, that you can do whatever the hell that you want, that technically all Israel going to be saved. No, it's stipulations that come with that. Because if all Israel can be saved, hell, we might as well just go back to sinning. We ain't finna keep the Feast of Purim. We just finna keep the Feast of Meat up in that thing.
What's y'all birthday? What's birthday next? So we be on that party like a mother.
Like, if that's the case, it's stipulations that we got to follow, man. We have to be keeping the commandments. Most High God is literally have to prove us, man.
Don't worry about who wants that Wednesday.
Read verse 12 again.
Verse 12. So God remembered his people and justified his inheritance.
So let's go back to Esther chapter 3 and verse 8. Oh, no, verse 7 again. Thanks, sir.
Esther 3 and 7. In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Purim.
They cast the lots. Read on.
That is, the lot before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is, the month Adar.
So Haman had them cast lots to do what? Put us to death. Read on up.
8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws.
Read that again up.
And their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws.
Neither keep they the king's laws. Read on up.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer.
So he's trying to bring up an evil report on us. Hey, they got laws contrary to the laws that you got. So it's not profitable for you to keep them alive because they're not going to worship you. When the Most High God told us that, guess what? If we're up under that captivity, we're going to go into those things. We follow the laws of those lands. Besides when it comes to what? Breaking God's commandments. That's the thing. We're not inching on breaking God's commandments. And we know ultimately that the Most High God will fight for us on those things. Let's get where he's saying the same thing. Let's go back to Esther in the Apocrypha. Y'all make sure y'all write this precept down. Chapter 9 and verse 4. Chapter 13, thanks, sir. Oh, now thanks, sir. Chapter 13, Salakia, brothers and sisters. Chapter 13 and verse 4. Because that's what they do, going back to what we read in Maccabees, where they trying to find mischief against us and to bring an evil report to kind of come against us and destroy us. Read this.
Esther, the rest of Esther chapter 13, verse 4, declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there were scattered a certain malicious people.
So you know what they do when they telling us that, guess what? Y'all a terrorist group. You guys are a cult. When we out there telling our people and teaching them the laws, statutes, and commandments, the same Bible you claim to be reading. But we're actually telling our people that they must apply them. But they call that malicious. They'll bring up an evil report if they can, man, at all costs. That's what you got CNN for. That's what you got all these news networks for. To basically have a smear campaign against the Israelites. Now, brothers is doing good works in the community. Why that's not being reported about? You actually have brothers teaching brothers the laws. Now they're doing what? Actually marrying their wives. Actually marrying their children. Actually getting brothers to stop smoking weed. To stop selling drugs. To stop killing one another. Why when we teach God's laws, guess what? That's a problem. Because they know eventually that'll put us above them. So that's a very big problem. You have something? Read on.
Declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there were scattered a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations.
And we have laws contrary to all nations. Read on up.
And continually despise the commandments of kings.
Because we despise Christmas. We despise celebrating New Year's. We despise celebrating birthdays. We despise the commandments that these leaders, the powers that be, try to push on our people. We despise those things, man. Read on up.
So as the uniting of our kingdoms, honorably intended by us, cannot go forward.
So they know they trying to get their kingdoms united, but they know we're not on one accord with those things, man. We are always contrary to those things. Like America says today, you can be anything you want. You can, guess what, be in any religion that you want, but the Bible doesn't say that, man. So we're contrary to those things, man. And it flexes brother spirits when we, after trying to teach our people that don't want to come up out of that madness. Let's go back to Esther chapter 3 and verse 9.
Well, that's tough, man. Well, that's what they want. They want to unite us so bad. We all one.
That's right.
Every commercial you see. Well, I'm telling you, that's tough, man. The book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 9. If it please the king, then it be written that they may be destroyed.
That they may be what?
That they may be destroyed.
Remember, all the mischief, anything that we see going on in the world, we know that what? Esau is at the head of that thing, man. Even with, just found out today, even with the laws, how they frame it, laws by mischief. Y'all done seen what happened to the brother out there in Minnesota with the no-knock warrants. Thing flex your spirit, man. I ain't gonna even lie. We know no-knock warrant is where the police have the authority to go in someone's house without announcing themselves. Now, you know many brothers have guns. Anybody coming through your door, what you gonna do? You gonna fire that thing off, man. But that's what they frame it, that law by mischief, to do what? Get a free kill on Negroes and Hispanics. Because the whole point was the brother's name wasn't even on the warrant. So he did what any other brother did. He's in his bed sleeping. He reached for his gun and they lit the brother up, man. They killed that brother. Now they trying to go to the city hall meeting. They know in the white areas they ain't got no knock warrants. But in the black areas they got no knock warrants. That's how they frame laws by mischief to, guess what, do us harm.
And you know it just even on smaller note, like me and Oscar doing the private security thing. Police come over there, he like the dude who was working for, like, what the police doing over here? They don't even supposed to be in our neighborhood. They got an ordinance. That's just how they roll, man. That's the evil that they do.
And like I was saying too, on another smaller scale, they just show you they don't even give a damn about their own. They'll let you knock out one of them just to kill you. They'll let that first so-called white boy walk through there, no knock, get his butt knocked off, just to kill you, man. They don't even care about their own. Man.
Let's get that, because that's exactly what Haman is doing. Psalms 94 and 20. You see, that's why when you read the book of Psalms, you see King David going in on Edomites a lot of the times, man. A lot of these precepts is attributed to Esau. Psalms chapter 94 and verse 20. Because this is what they do, and this is what Haman did. And they still doing this thing today. That's why you have laws like what? Stand your ground. We know they frame it as, oh, it's all one law. But you see more times off than none that Esau can do that law. He get off scot-free. But when we try to apply that same law, we get the book thrown at us. You done seen it going down there in Florida with many, many cases. That's what the Bible tells us, brothers. Hey, y'all got to keep your eyes to the news. Even sisters too as well. Because these things we have to bring out in these classes to show our people, man. We suffer because we're breaking God's commandments. Read this.
Psalm 94 and 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee?
Read that again.
Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee?
The throne of iniquity is Esau. Meaning what? They're the most wicked on the planet. They frame iniquity. Read on up.
Which frameth mischief by a law.
Which frameth mischief by a law. So they put laws out here that know that it's to our detriment. Like we said, with no knock warrants. With stand your ground laws. Hands up, don't shoot. All these things go into the laws that Esau passes that are what? That are not in our benefit. The scriptures are saying these things over and over again. The same thing that what Haman is doing. That's why it's what? No new thing under the sun. Let's go back to the book of Esther.
That's why people there, brother, we want to sit here and hold Esau. Well, man, y'all doing something. Y'all doing this against the law. We all want to hold Esau their law. They don't give a damn about their law concerning you. They don't care about their law concerning you. They can make up any law any day. I seen the time, man. I'm from Arkansas, man. Brother-in-law running from the police. They lock his girlfriend up because they looking for him. What law is that? They can just do anything they want to do. What you gonna do about it? You ain't gonna do nothing but take it. Or you gonna go call Jesse Jackson or something. No, man, we gotta come back to our God. This is how this thing supposed to work, man.
That's
Go ahead,
right.
God.
Let's go back to Esther chapter 3 and verse 9.
Esther 3 and 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
That they may be what?
That they may be destroyed.
Read on up.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury.
So you gonna pay to have us killed. Read on up.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman the son, and Hammedatha the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
The who?
The Jews' enemy.
The who?
The Jews' enemy.
The Jews' enemy. Let them know that, guess what? That heritage goes back to what? Jacob and Esau.
That's right.
Read on up.
And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good.
So guess what? The Persian king, Xerxes, guess what? He okay, you want to do that? Okay, you can do that. But he set the frame of the work by doing what? Telling them that, guess what? They got laws contrary to you. They're not going to follow you.
Put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and a bitter cry.
So when we face with certain adversities, like we know when Jacob's trouble really hit the fan, this is what, it's giving us an example on what we should follow, what we should do. Cry bitterly. Pray to the Most High God. Throw up fast that the Most High God save us from this time of destruction, man. That's what we should do. Follow the same examples our forefathers did. Read on up.
And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting.
And what?
Mourning among the Jews, and fasting.
And fasting. That's what we have to do more of in these last days. Read on.
And weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
Read on.
So Esther's maid and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth
Read on.
him. But he received it not. Then called Esther.
Because the thing is, how you want to get clean and you knowing y'all about to be put to death? I'm going to put on my best shoes, man, knowing we finna be put to death. I mean, you know that.
5. Then called Esther for Hattai, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was.
So he's giving him what? The inside information. Read on up.
So Hattai went forth to his treasury service, and the people of the king's province do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called.
Who is what?
Who is not called. There is one law of his to put him to death.
So it was ordered. You couldn't just approach the king's gate in the court. You have to be called or beckoned from the king. Just can't just show up and just, hey, I need to speak to the king. Well, brother, do you got an appointment? No, I need to talk to him anyway. Well, they not rolling like that. You got put to death back in these times. Read on up.
What? You can't go talk to they right now. That's the same thing. You can't go talk to their presidents either.
Yeah, that's right.
Go walk your tail into the White House. You ain't gonna be able to do it.
Say, I need to talk to Biden right now. Boy. Read on up.
Except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live.
So he held out a golden scepter, and if you was beneath him or whatnot, you got a chance to come up and talk. Read on.
That he may live. But I have not been called king's house more than all the Jews.
Don't think just because you his wife that you going to escape and not face destruction. Mordecai was doing what? Giving her counsel. So, hey, if we is, then I'm pretty sure the word going to get out that you are Israelite as well. And they going to what? They going to put you behind the death as well. Read on up.
14. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed.
So guess what? He's going to destroy you right along with us. We don't care how pretty you are. Read on.
And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Jump down to verse 16.
16. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me.
And do what up?
And fast ye for me.
So they proclaimed a fast. Read on.
And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day.
So this is how you fast. You fast by what? Not eating or drinking for a whole 24-hour period. They fasted for 3 days. Read on up.
I also and my maidens will fast likewise.
So it's not a nut fast. It's not a water fast. Oh, I'm going to do the Daniel fast. You know how Christians want to be slick and deep. What's a Daniel fast? Daniel fasted for 3 weeks, man. Is you doing that?
Don't do the King David fast.
That's no eating nor drinking for a 24-hour period.
Because they looked at it like how when King David did a fast. King David did a fast what? Because it was a fast of mourning. It wasn't no like me and I went over there one day. It wasn't.
As soon as he got the word.
So he got the word that Saul and his children had got killed. Yeah, it's gonna stop you from eating. It'll stop anybody. This is your, this your friend. That's what it's gonna stop anybody from eating.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, huh?
Read on up.
I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
So Esther was going to do what? Use her position to do what? Save her people. A lot of times, even like if brothers that's in the medical industry, sisters that are doctors, that are lawyers, hey, the Most High God is putting that on y'all spirit to do that, but it's y'all job to do what? Use that for the benefit of your nation. The jobs that we do, being electricians, these are the talents that the Most High God gives the nation to do what? Help the nation. Brothers can never lose sight of that. Sisters can never lose sight of that, man. What is a precept for fasting? Any brother know?
Matthew 6. See Matthew 6. And
That ain't what you looking for.
Yeah,
What's the
that's
main
not what
one
I'm
we
looking
look
not
for?
one.
Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. That is a precept.
That's not what you're looking for.
Brothers, write down Jonah chapter 3, verse 5.
Okay, John 3 and 5.
Because we literally want, like we say, we literally want to see what a fast is. Nor eating, nor drinking for a 24-hour period. So y'all make sure y'all precept those things. Esther 4 and 16 with Jonah 3 and 5. Jump down to Esther chapter 5, verse 1.
Esther 5 and 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house.
Jump down to verse 7.
Verse 7. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is...
Not yet. Read that again.
Verse 7. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is...
So she had a petition and a request. That's why he allowed her to come to her. Read on up.
if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said.
So she's doing what? She's plotting a situation, trying to get this thing on board to do what? Save her people. So she invited Haman and the king to eat at a banquet. Haman not knowing what's going on, but they gonna quietly put the plan together. Read on up.
Verse 9. Then went Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart.
So he joyful, glad of heart. He don't know what's going on. So he walking in there, chest sticking out, like he the man. Read on up.
But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him.
Read that again up.
But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
So guess what? Mordecai didn't stand up again to bow down unto Haman. And this pissed Haman off even more. Read on up.
Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself.
You better have Mordecai gonna put them hands on him. Read on.
And when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh riches, and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the kings had promoted him.
So he bragging, going home to the family and so forth. Read on.
And how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king.
Jump down to verse 14.
14. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends, a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon.
That Mordecai may be what?
That Mordecai may be hanged thereon.
Read on up.
Then go thou in merrily with the king into the banquet, and the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
So he's going home doing what? Taking counsel from his wife. Guess what? She told him to make what? Contraption so Mordecai can be hanged on. He's plotting, setting up the plan as well as Esther and Mordecai as well. Read on up.
Verse chapter 6. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king.
So you know, a king with all types of power, he couldn't sleep, so he went and read on the history of certain things. That's what the books of the chronicles is. Read on.
And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus.
So now he's reading on the history where it was written how Mordecai saved him from an assassination plot. Read on up.
And the king said, what honor is in the court. Now Haman was coming to the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he prepared for him.
So you see how the plot is sticking. He like, Haman's setting up to kill Mordecai, and the king is setting up to, guess what, reward Mordecai. We see how the Most High God can quickly change the situation around, man. Hey, I'm going to tell you, this is a testament to brothers and sisters that's dealing with adversity. A lot of times the Most High God has you dealing with adversity to do what? Not to just punish you and beat you down, but to do what? To strengthen you. More adversity, guess what? Gives you more experience, gives you more experience to long suffer, gives you the time to, guess what? Be able to adapt to those things and finally what? Overcome those things. You got to go through something, man. Especially you got to go through a little something to know about something, man. To do what? Tell the example or give the your account of those things to new brothers and sisters in this walk, man, to help strengthen their spirit. Read on up.
Verse 5. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standing in the court. And the king said, let him come in.
He said, let him come in. Read on.
So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself?
You're like, man, who this nigga finna raise up higher than me, man? Read on up.
And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king used to wear.
So he's like, bring out my best clothes to him. Read on up.
And the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes.
Read on.
That they may array the man withal whom the king delighted to honor.
Read on.
And bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done.
So he's basically making a what? Making a parade for Mordecai. And Haman don't have a clue.
That's for him. Like,
They say the pride of thine heart what had deceived thee. He's so prideful and so forth. Read on.
Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor. Verse 10. Then the king said to Haman, make haste, and take the apparel and the horse.
You're like, hurry up, Edomite. Read on.
And thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
Read that again up.
As thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
Man, you could just, boy, I would have paid anything to see the look on Haman's face. But like,
get your face off the ground.
boy, I would have, boy, say, man. Read on up.
That sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback.
So he arrayed Mordecai. Just imagine him telling his servants, man, go on, put the clothes on that nigga, man.
Weekend.
For real, you know he mumbling up on his breath. Probably had Mordecai about to. Hey, they knew what was going on because they always knew it was a great hatred between Israel and Edomites. Read on.
And brought him on horseback through the street.
Off, all mad and sad. Read on.
And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him.
So they even giving counsel. Hey, this thing ain't gonna work. Read on up.
And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlain, and hasted to bring Haman into the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Now, not only did he get this, he still hadn't even attended the banquet that Esther had set up. So it was basically like a double plot.
Yeah.
Jump down to chapter 7 and verse 1 up.
chapter 7, verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther, the queen. And the king said again unto Esther, on the second day, at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom.
But he was ready to give up the half of the kingdom for Sister Esther, man. Like you say, sister must have been bad, boy. She was in order, boy. Read on up.
Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please thee, king, let my life be given me, and my petition, and my people, and my request.
So she's doing what? Petitioning for her life and for the life of her people. Precept that we always bring out. Give me the book of Sirach, chapter 33, verse 17. I want to love that precept more and more, man. Because like we say, the thing is, like we say, when brothers and sisters get to these jobs, prestigious jobs and so forth, hey, don't forget about your people. Hey, we need doctors in Israel. We need lawyers in Israel. We need electricians. We need carpenters. Because the thing is, the Most High God is always telling us, ain't nothing we can't do amongst ourselves if we got the Lord bagging us up, man. Nothing, man. Read this.
Sirach 33 and 17. Consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning.
So guess what? We're not just in this walk by ourselves, man. But we're in this walk for all of our nation of people, man. Read that again. We want that thing to resonate, man.
Sirach 33 and 17. Consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning.
So a lot of times brothers and sisters have to do what? Shake that selfish spirit in Israel. A lot of times, like we say, we attribute these things to people that know about the truth. Not about brothers and sisters that don't know about the truth, man. Who got the precept to that?
Surah 24.
24.
Let's get that. All praise up. 24 and 34. Like we said, we're not just laboring for ourselves, brothers and sisters, man. I know Captain Jerry brought out a class for that. Like a lot of times, we all went into captivity. Ezekiel was righteous, Jeremiah was righteous, but they did what? They went into captivity too. Even the knowledge that you're obtaining, you got to be thinking like, guess what? I'm obtaining this knowledge to, guess what? Build up my brother. Iron what? Iron sharpens iron. Brothers to go over the precepts and so forth. Sisters to read amongst each other. Like we say, Titus 2 and so forth. You're not just laboring for yourself in this walk, and this is the same spirit that Esther had. Let's go back. Esther chapter 7 and verse 4. 4.
Esther 7 and 4. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue.
Hey, if you were just going to make us slaves and so forth, we would have held our tongue. She wouldn't have said nothing. Read on up.
But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
Read on.
Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he, and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so?
So he's like, where's this man that's presuming this evil against you? Read on up.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman.
It says the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Read on up.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Hey, boy, you can just imagine. Remember, the king has all power in his hand to, guess what? Grant life or to kill you right there on the spot, man. You could just imagine Haman's spirit literally probably left him right then and there. Like, dang, she an Israelite too. Damn queen the whole time is an Israelite. His wife. Boy, I'm talking about, you know his spirit just left, man. Read on up.
Verse 7, and the king arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther.
Now he pleading and begging before Esther, please don't kill me. But then what? You didn't show us that same gratitude.
And guess what, man? Haman knew he was out of order anyway, because we weren't even supposed to be dealing with the queen. He's supposed to be dealing straight with the king.
That's
man.
right.
But guess what? It's the story gonna check and go ahead.
Because even like the scriptures say, we got to get that. Sit not at all. Where is that at? In the book of Sirach. Yeah, go ahead. We're going to. Let's go back. I'll find it. Because I know this mug is good right now. Go back to Esther chapter 7 and verse 8. Thanks, Al. Let's get there right quick. Sirach chapter 9, verse 9. Salaki, Al. I'm going to say one more precept is at main. Like I was going into, because it's against the laws to even, like you say, sit at all with another man's wife and so forth. Hey, it's order to the attention. Sisters have to know this thing, man. Read this out.
Sirach chapter 9, verse 9. Sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms, and spend not thy money with her at the wine.
Don't be buying the sisters wine and so forth. Read on.
Lest thine heart incline unto her.
Lest thy what up?
Lest thine heart incline unto her.
And this goes vice versa, even for the sisters. Like we say, you don't want to be in other men's faces and so forth. Now, we know we deal with brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters have to understand discernment. You know, when it gets a little bit too comfortable, no. You got to hold on for real. Read on up.
And so through thy desire, thou fall into destruction.
And so through your desire, you fall into destruction. Your desire can be unwanted attention, maybe not getting that attention at home, so you seeking that attention elsewhere. Hey, you got to check that spirit, man, for men and women, man. You have to check that spirit. This is what something that Haman didn't do, because he know his spirit had left. Read this. Let's go back to Esther.
Esther chapter 7, verse 7. And the king arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
So he found, he knew, read on out, that his time was coming to an end.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine.
Read on out.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
Hey, boy, you know how they be. They put that black bag over your face, and they never see you again, man. No, he was pleading for his life. That's basically what it was. He coming to her trying to plead for his life. Like, please don't have him put me to death. But it was already a wrap. Like you say, just think about it. King Xerxes was ready to give half the kingdom to Esther. So you know how sisters can be, boy. They flatter a little, baby, go on and do this, such and such. Whispering sweet nothings in his ear, and brothers is gone. Hey, they at the beck and call of a sister. Esther had him in that same manner, man. We know all praise to the Most High that he put the spirit on her to do that for his people. But hey, it was a wrap after that. Read this out.
When he took the power from the king, Haman did. He begging Esther.
The word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
Man, read on out.
And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, Behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standing in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
It says, hang him. That same thing that he plotted for our destruction, the same thing that he died by. A lot of times, that's what the Most High God does to Esau. We know even with the coronavirus and so forth, hey, it started off, they was getting that thing. Like I say, they tweaking that thing a little bit. Now we getting it. But even more, we seen a lot of Edomites that died from that thing, man. I'm talking about a lot of them, man. Even like with the AIDS epidemic, even like with this them pills, opium, thanks. You know my language, man. Opioids or whatever oids or pills,
Asteroids.
all that, man. You seeing how they putting these things, even with the crack situation. Cocaine, we see that they put these things in our nation, but the Most High God always flips it on their own head. So the Most High God is constantly fighting for us. We just got to fight for the Most High God back by keeping these commandments.
To get his precept
Bring
right.
it out.
2 Corinthians 13 and 8.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 8. Charity never faileth.
Nah, 2 Corinthians 13 and 8.
Yeah. Oh, second. So Boy, it is. This
Go back, go.
is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 8.
Uh-huh.
For we can do nothing against the truth,
Uh-huh.
but for the truth.
So Haman tried to make these gallows for Mordecai, but then come time passed, and guess what? These same gallows that he tried to make and hang Mordecai, he got hung on himself, man. So it lets you know that we still, the Most High still got the power for anything that they put, or any obstacle they try to put in our way. If it's the will of the Most High God, it's going to be done. But you can't do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. He gonna make he gonna make our enemies what? Be at our foot, man.
That's right.
What's the scripture? Gonna make our enemies be at peace? Can't think of it.
Make our enemies be at peace with thee.
Uh-huh.
That brother slipped me too. Hey, love.
But nah, that's it. That's all I wanted, man. Just to show you that you can't do nothing against it.
Was Joseph and Daniel given a dream, but also Mordecai was given a dream too. Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 1.
And that's another thing too, man. It's like the United States and all these other countries got these missiles. And the same missiles that they done
That's
built
right. That's
gonna be
exactly
used right back on them. Gonna be used for them. They ain't doing nothing but creating their own destruction.
Yeah.
Read this out. In the Apocrypha, the rest of Esther 10 and verse 4.
Esther, the rest of Esther, chapter 10, verse 4. Then Mordecai said, God had done these things. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof had failed. A little fountain became a river, and there was in my nation is this Israel, which cried to God and was saved. For the Lord had saved his people, and the Lord had delivered us from all those evils. And God hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles.
So the Most High God did what? He gave a dream already understand what was going down. Let's jump over to verse, because even when you jump over to verse 11, it breaks it down even more. From verse 9 on down, he was basically given a dream. So he had already knew in his heart anyway, because the Most High God had put it on his spirit. So like, let's go back to 8, because we still got some more to cover. Esther chapter 8 and verse... Esther chapter 7 and verse 10.
Esther 7 and 10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
Read on.
On that day did the king of Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen.
So not only did he give her Haman, but he gave her what? His whole house as well. Because a lot of times that's why what? Even like how we was going over in the book of Psalms, if his children be multiplied, or Job. Let's get that right quick. Job chapter 20. No brother should remember that precept. Yeah, you already know. I was going through them precepts in Camp 101. You got Job chapter 19, then you got Job chapter 20. Let's see. Yeah, thanks. 27, start at verse 13.
Job 27 and 13. This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors.
And the heritage of what?
And the heritage of oppressors.
Read on,
which they shall receive of the Almighty.
Read on.
If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword.
It is for the what?
It is for the sword.
Read on,
And his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread.
So guess what? Even him and his children are going to be put to death. Because like we say, if they be multiplied, it's what? It's for the sword. Esau is going to do 1,000 years in captivity. So keep having them kids, Esau. Keep on having them, man. They're just going to be for destruction and going to be for servitude. Handmaids and servants, man. Let's go back to Esther. Chapter 8 and verse 1 again.
Esther 8 and 1. On that day did the king of Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king. For Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai.
So just like in all these situations, you see, we done started off in slavery. Now some of our people hold some of the highest ranks in here in America. You know, hey, they got to turn back to their law, statutes, and commandments, though. That's one of the main things. We know it may be prestigious people out there that know that they're Israelites. They say you seen with, what's her name? Anita Baker's piano player. You know, brother play with his fringes on and so forth. You know, we know it's brothers out there that know. We know it's prestigious people out there that know. Remember, Nicodemus came to Christ at night because he didn't want everybody in his business. He knew that they would have came against him. So not everybody that we see that's in higher up authorities may say something. You know, that's being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. But hey, you still keep these commandments, though.
Guess what? So you talking to all y'all entertainers, rappers,
All that.
NBA player, all y'all people in high supposed to be in higher state. Guess what, man? Reach out to any Israelite camp, man.
That's right.
Guess what? If y'all don't want to be, guess what? Nicodemus did it. Y'all can do it too.
That's right.
That what's the guy? What's the wrestler name? The big old gigantic dude, the world champ.
Wrestler?
Yeah, I'm not a wrestler. You know the fake wrestler.
Yeah.
That big old 400-pound, that dude all muscle.
Mark
man.
Henry.
No, he's
That's
the
all I
dude
can
the champ
think
right
of.
now, but he is a Israelite. He wear judo on this thing. He got fringes on the top right here. He got fringes on the bottom of this thing. In fact, they finna do an event with Sons of Thunder.
All praise, huh?
Yeah, he is Israelite. He out there in public showing it. You know,
You talking about Biggie?
I guess I know you're a champ. He's the champ. He's the world champ. Somebody say
Somebody
something.
don't wrestling about 15, 20 years.
Let's go back, man.
That's auditorium. Get on the binary, love.
Read. Let's go back to Esther chapter 8, verse 3.
The book of Esther, chapter 8, verse 3. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews.
Because he had a device that he devised against us to put us to death. Like they still have a lot of today. Read on.
Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seemed right before thee, and the thing seemed right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, that it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman the son of the Hammedatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces.
So she petitioned to have what? The things that he was trying to destroy us with, to have that thing reversed. I would say she's steady using her power to do what? To help her people. Jump down to verse 8.
Verse 8, write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse.
May no man what?
May no man reverse.
Read on up.
Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies, and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia.
Jump down to verse 12.
Verse 12. Upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given.
Go ahead.
It shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him.
Hold on, let's get that again. That's good for sure.
But that's what they did. They tried to dig a ditch
Read
for
that
us.
again.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 26 and verse 27. Whoso diggeth a ditch, whoso diggeth a pit, shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. So this is what happened, man. They dug the ditch for us, and guess what happened? He was digging it for themselves, man.
Yeah, because that decree that Haman had came out with was, he was telling these other nations that was around us throughout the other places, he was giving them payments. You know, hey, y'all get paid for killing them. So all the mothers, they was bringing in their paychecks. You know, they were trying to get paid when they was going out killing them. And
Jump.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, but he had came back. I don't know if y'all read that, but when they was out trying to get paycheck, that's why she was like, oh, I got to go back to the city to kill everybody that was out there killing them.
Let's go back to Esther chapter 8 and verse. We're gonna get to the point. Jump down to verse 17.
Verse
This is
17.
something that we have to cover.
Esther 8:17. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day, and many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
Can any brother break this down? What is this going into? You want to take a crack at it, Brother Sam? It says, and many of the people of the land became Jews, for fear of the Jews fell upon them. This is something that Christians are using.
was real. They come out with it.
Go
Right, they know that we got the real living and true only God. For they know that whatever they was just doing wasn't working for us, so they can get down. But it's not grafting though. It's not grafting.
Hold on, one at a time. Go ahead, Brother King.
Many of them started keeping the laws and started turning back to their culture.
No, cleaving.
You right on the first part. Go ahead, Brother Mordecai.
Well, like the Gentiles started taking on our customs.
Yes,
That's it.
that's it.
Converts.
Because can other nations really be Jews?
No.
No, they cannot. That's a thing of Esau today. Esau make being a Jew a religion. Being a Jew is not a religion. It is a nationality.
That's why they say Judaism.
That's why they say Judaism.
Yeah.
Judaizers.
Converted out of fear.
You said what, Brother Charles?
Zechariah 8:22 and 23.
That's right. That's a precepts for that thing. I'm glad that you was in the spirit to say that. Let's get there right quick. Zechariah chapter 8 and verse 23. Because all nations are literally going to have to get down and bow down with God's law, statutes, commandments.
Jerusalem,
This is what they call end time prophecies. Read on up.
and to pray before the Lord. Thus said the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of
Literally saying that they can literally be Jews and so forth. No, that means just take on our laws, statutes, and covenants. Let's go back to Esther chapter 9 and verse 1.
Esther chapter 9, verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, though it was turned to the contrary.
Though it was what?
Though it was turned to the contrary.
Though that it was turned to the contrary, meaning the Most High God flipped it, like how Ak brought out in the book of Proverbs. Read on.
That the Jews had ruled over them that hated them.
That we ultimately, guess what? Ruled over the people that hated our guts. And this is the same day that we waiting for to today. Jump down to...
And this saying also what we always, they say the first shall be last and the last shall be first.
That's right. Read verse 2.
Verse 2. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt.
Uh-huh.
And no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people.
Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter, and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them.
Jump up to verse 4.
Verse 4. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai
Haman was put to death, and his 10 sons. Meaning what we went back to in what? The book of Job. If his children be multiplied, it is what? It is for the sword. Read on up.
Verse 11. On that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan, the palace, was brought before the king.
Read on.
And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan.
So he killed 500 men that was what? Plotting to come against the Israelites. Read on up.
In Shushan, the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman.
Yeah, Haman.
What have they done in the rest of the king's province? Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee, or what is thy request further? And it shall be done.
So remember, he steady want to give up more and more stuff that he